is let's just have the conversation today. And we're on and we're live and we're going. The Sports Back Bros podcast is on a Wednesday. It's a truncated version of the podcast. Well, for the week, that is. It's not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. It's just Tuesday, Wednesday. Today's Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday. We're closing it out. But we're here nonetheless. So what's going on in the world of sports today? Let's get into it.
Let's go. One thing I think we probably could get a good laugh out of is Russ getting benched. Russell Wilson.
Unbelievable, because I had done another channel before this and I made a show about when he had first gotten traded to Denver, and I called it the Herschel Walker 2.0. And going by the players that had left in the draft picks and all that, I think that's as close to what happened with Herschel Walker going from the Dallas Cowboys to the Minnesota Vikings as anything since then. And I think that was they really, really had him highly pegged as that kind of player. And at the time, I didn't think he was as high, but for what they had on their roster and what they had gone through, Denver, that is, since Peyton Manning had retired, 11 quarterbacks, you thought at least he had something left, more so than those two he had on the roster, led by Teddy Bridgewater.
You're right. He seemed like he fell off a cliff all of a sudden, although a few weeks ago he was playing fairly well. Now, I don't know what happened. But obviously, Mr. Payton's not happy with him, so he's going to be riding the pine.
Well, you know what? I think this is one of those deals also where business is coming into the mix, because in the NFL at this time of the year, I've known some people who've played in the NFL and I've seen business decisions made, typically not with a guy with this kind of profile, this kind of possible fringe, not even going to say fringe, possible Hall of Famer in the future. But with Russell Westbrook, well, he's a Hall of Famer too. But with Russell Wilson, there's over $30 million owed to him if he were to get injured seriously in any of the next two games. They're doing a business thing right here. They're sitting him down, and based on the way he's been playing, now we know for sure Denver doesn't have a shot in going into the playoffs. You sit him down because if he's not injured, you have to guarantee him that money by March. So by sitting him, they can do other things, release him, and don't have to pay the whole big amount.
Well, that sounds like a good business decision to me.
Exactly. That's what it is.
I don't know who's going to want to pick him up.
Well, I'm just guessing if they were to cut him, obviously they wouldn't have to worry about paying that entire salary or whatever it is that he's owed. So I guess that is big for them. These NFL teams are billion-dollar teams, et cetera, but even money like that, still a lot of money. And if you can get away from not paying it, go ahead and do it. Kind of goes back to what it was said about Mel Tucker and what he had gone through at Michigan State, is like someone in the ether was kind of doing some clandestine, shady crap, trying to get him knocked out of the spot and making sure that it was not under the provisions of his contract, the morality clause and all that, just to get away from that $90+ million contract they gave him. But it makes sense to a degree, but you can't verify it. It happened the way it did. But Russell Wilson, now just another quarterback in the league and on the bench.
Yeah, and that's a lot of money they can put towards another position, free
Absolutely.
agents or even a high draft pick, whatever. But if Russ is willing to be a backup, he could probably do well for Justin Fields. If he goes in and tries to be a mentor, he may have the Marcus Smart, Derrick Rose approach. Hey, I ain't no babysitter. Yeah. But if he wants a job, and wants to be productive, go mentor a young guy who has potential but has kind of been slow to develop.
But Russ has never come across as that type that would do that. I don't want to babysit things. He seems like for the most part, he's that team guy, but I guess he had to be that guy because he was coming in as a starter all the time. Now, if you're coming in as a backup and you probably don't have a pathway to being the starter, you probably have a different mindset, kind of the Joe Flacco mindset. But yeah, man, I also think that could there have been pressure coming from the ownership or even just Coach Payton? Because Coach Payton, we know about him offensively, and apparently Russ is not doing what he wants offensively. There are quarterbacks coming up in this draft, and I don't think it would have affected Russell Wilson much for those quarterbacks to come, but it's the salary that's really bothering them. So get that young guy, take your lumps. The fans are forgiving because it's a rookie, and you have money to spend on other players, receivers, and all that. for Sean Payton's offense, which he knows he can do.
Right. I even think of maybe Baltimore would be a good spot for him. We're coming to the end of the season. Lamar Jackson's been healthy, knock on wood, but the last few seasons he hasn't been healthy going into the playoffs. So based off his history, you need a good backup.
I'm also wondering, is he willing to take that sweetheart deal, the sweetheart for the city he's going to? He's not in the position of leverage now to demand salaries or ask for even higher salary than what he's getting. I don't know about league minimum, but veteran minimum. I wonder where he would be in that area. But I guess going to a playoff team, I mean, I've seen Mark Brunell do that before. I think when he went in, he went to Baltimore. No, when he went with the Saints, but he wasn't the starting quarterback. He took less money and wasn't worrying about anything, and he got by with. I think it was on the Saints when he had done it. But anyways, there's a lot of these quarterbacks who've played for years or players who've played for years, and then when things get a little old, as they get older, they're not willing to take less money. They think they still have leverage and can negotiate.
Yeah, people need a reality check from time to time, and but as you mentioned, he's never seemed like that type of individual.
Yeah.
From all accounts, he's a good guy. He's a smart guy, and he probably knows he's got one foot in the clubhouse, and standing on the sideline with the clipboard and visor is better than sitting at home. So I would think he would be all for it.
It's an unforgiving game. We've seen so many legends do the same thing. They're holding the clipboard while the new star or player that's not even a star yet is now the one that the team is looking to lead them to wherever they're going. But yeah, good luck to Russ Wilson, man. He's had a hell of a career. I mean, I started off by saying he's a fringe Hall of Famer. I think he's a legitimate Hall of Famer. First ballot, probably not. He'll ultimately get in there.
Probably, most likely.
Now, yesterday, you sent me a message about Travis Kelce and the record that the Kansas City Chiefs have since he's been dating Taylor Swift.
I mentioned it on the show. I said they might be 500. If the tweet I saw is correct, they're under 500. They are 3-4 since she started attending football games. Now, cut her loose. Come on, get rid of her.
Now, is this for fun, or do you think there's really something to it?
I don't know. I mean, there's a Madden curse. There's a Kardashian effect.
Now that's for real. That's for real.
There may be a.
But they're chaotic, man. Taylor Swift doesn't come across as chaotic.
Plus, look at Kelce's play. It's dropped off dramatically. He's dropping passes in the end zone. Yeah, but there's nothing wrong with his hands.
No, well, yeah, he can't get out of those cuts. Can't make those breaks real fast with his sore ankle. Yeah, the hands. He's dropped passes, man. Travis Kelce.
That's what I'm saying.
Drop passes. And when you're an older player, you don't normally drop passes. You just get slower, and you probably don't go 100% all the time. But he's been trying to go 100%.
I don't say it just to hate on Taylor Swift. I mean,
oh no, it just seems pretty damn obvious how
I don't have anything against her. I'm not a fan of her. She's irrelevant to me. But
absolutely,
facts are facts. And she showed up. The Chiefs are 3-4,
and that's exactly what it is.
And they're not a 3-4 team.
I don't know. Based on the players who've been dropping passes, based on those bad receivers, do you think they're looking at Taylor Swift in the audience the same way Joe Montana looked at John Candy in the audience during games? Well, they're just dropping a pass.
The funny thing is, it's been the receivers, right, all year, dropping the pass at the 2-yard line, dropping the first down pass on 3rd and 15, dropping the pass here, dropping the pass there, and Mahomes took up for his receivers, lining up off sides. Took up for his receivers, got a $50,000 fine for standing up for his receivers. And then last week, he has a fumble and a pick six taken to the house. Like, it's just getting progressively worse.
Yeah, it is. I'm still thinking or would like to believe it's for fun. It's something to blame. But you know what? These fans will take that thing seriously. Kansas City now has had their little light on them for about a good 5-6 years, and when they've been playing well and obviously winning 2 Super Bowls out of 3. So I think this is something that fans will throw on Taylor Swift, whether real or imagined, just because they're not getting the desired result.
It could be a combination of things. The commercials. Travis Kelce's on the insurance commercials now. Andy Reid's on the commercials. Like maybe they don't have 100% focus.
That could be true too. That could be true, man. But you know what? Travis Kelce has always been one of these personalities that's been pretty
He's doing
over.
his podcast too with his brother.
Yeah. You know what? I wonder, should players during the season have a podcast? Is that going to be part of the new contracts as they move forward? Because it seems to be a distraction, the same way those hazardous things like having a motorcycle or being, jeopardizing yourself in the off season or even during the season are in the contract. I mean, I remember when Kellen Winslow, when he had gotten injured for the Cleveland Browns, never was the same player again. It was the motorcycle, and even though that clause was in his contract, he still didn't care. And I look at him now. Wow, he's in prison. But I mean,
it's hard. It's hard to say people doing podcasts affects their play, but it definitely. I can't say that it helps them. You definitely can't say, "Oh, he's performing well because he has a podcast." No one will ever say that by anyone.
Absolutely not. But I think people think for the money that you're getting, your focus should be football only. Not a football podcast, but yeah, football only, being on the field, trying to get better. The podcast doesn't make you better. You have all off season to do that. You even have your bye week if you want to do that. But when you're dedicating yourself to something like that, I think it takes away from what you could be doing in the classroom, the film study you could be doing, the jugs machine like Mahomes should have bought his receivers could be using, that kind of thing, man.
You're right. I'm with you. I don't see the benefits of it.
Well, this is coming towards the end of the season, so you see that these things are happening with Russell Wilson being sat down by the Denver Broncos, and now you have Sam Howell in Washington. He's getting sat down for Jacoby Brissett. So, and it goes back to what I'm thinking about with Eric Bieniemy. No one on that coaching staff is going to be there when Black Monday comes, or a little bit after that if it's going to go even longer. They're not coming back for the 2024 season, the coaching staff at Washington, as it is right now. And so Sam Howell's going to sit. I don't know necessarily because he's been bad. I think I don't know. He's a growing quarterback, and he's going to make those mistakes in his second year. He did well this season. I think primarily because of Eric Bieniemy. They're giving Brissett the chance. They're not in the playoffs themselves, so this is that time of year anyway, where people start adding pieces to the puzzle. If you're making a playoff run, people start seeing what they do have. I don't think with Jacoby Brissett, you're finding out what you have with him. I think Sam Howell is the future there. It's just a matter of which coach is going to be there with him as he continues his future in 2024.
Yeah, it could be the 1-2-3 Cancun effect, right? Where the teams eliminate from the playoffs.
Yeah.
They're not very interested. They're not giving 100%. Why put your quarterback out there to potentially get hurt?
That's true.
Let's see what the backups can do.
Yeah,
next year. So,
well, we do have we already know kind of because we watched Jacoby Brissett for some years for the times he's been in there. Very solid quarterback, a very good backup. I still have Gardner Minshew as my favorite backup because he embraces the role. Jacoby Brissett obviously does the same, and he's going to get his opportunity to be out there and try to get something going for this team, which I think primarily is much ado about nothing, considering the coaching staff won't be there next year, and if there's a new coaching staff. Does Brissett even stay? But yeah, so this.
I just thought of something though. It could be the Kelce brothers are auditioning for their afterlife career, after football, after football career. They might have aspirations of going into broadcasting, so they're getting some tape out there on their camera presence and commentating and views on things.
And that's true. Look at what McAfee has done with ESPN, making that money, being a former NFL player. I mean, these NFL players, they do have the insight. They already have their inherent fan bases and people who follow them. So all they got to do is show up on the scene. And if you're a Travis Kelce or his brother or all of these other prominent players, if you're coming, and I don't think Travis Kelce's coming to the tail end of his career, but yeah, it's nice to have something set up. Greg Olsen in the same boat. Now he's like the A squad for Fox because he left football, was able to go ahead and do that. But before he had done that, there were times when he was doing broadcasts while he was still on the roster. I mean, I don't know how the coaches allow that, but he had so many injuries. I figured they figured whatever. And you can go back to when he had that stain on his career. Some people on the outside would call it a stain. I'll call it props. When he was part of the 7th floor crew in Miami, he put that video out. And people just, it's awesome. Just watch the video. But anyways, this is the time of year we're at now. We kind of have our playoff teams. There's some teams still fighting, but in terms of the teams we know that are probably likely going to be the top dogs in the playoffs, even after the loss to the Baltimore Ravens, the 49ers are still in position to be the number one team in the NFC. And we talked about yesterday, I was thinking Baltimore could rest guys. You're like, shoot, Miami's a game behind. Well, you can't rest guys. It wouldn't be good, though. You know what I mean?
Right.
So figure that out.
They played Miami.
Yeah, and they played Miami. So, yeah, the rest people during that game, right? It made a lot of sense when I said it. No, it didn't. It still doesn't make sense. Yeah, but Trevor Lawrence says he'll do anything to play against the Panthers this week. Bro, just this, he doesn't have to prove anything to his teammates, and the way he's been playing, it hasn't really benefited the team of late, definitely with a 4-game losing streak. If they were to lose this Sunday, that would be an entire month of December of not winning. They haven't won since November as it is. Still have 4 games in there, which they've lost in a row. Man, I don't know if you come and say to sit him down, because the Jaguars still have a legitimate chance with a 3-way tie in the AFC South.
Right. But I would think they would be able to beat the Panthers without him.
I'm thinking so too. But once again, you have these NFL teams.
NFL, you don't know.
Exactly.
But
because
if he's not 100% healthy, I don't know if I put him out there. I'd roll the dice. Let's try and win one without him against the Panthers, and then have him start the following week.
And he hasn't been 100% most of the season. I think 3/4 of the season he has not been 100%. The ankle injury. Now he got the AC joint injury. Then you had the I think it was a shoulder or whatever else he's had. He's just been banged up, but he's been hanging in there. He's getting a lot of credibility with his teammates going out there injured, because he gives them obviously the best chance to win. Is it really that obvious? Because he has not been playing well. We've documented it a couple of times on the things he's doing. The defense was able to carry, and the offense was opportunistic and just getting the big plays, and they were winning games until they were not winning games. And then his flaws were even magnified more when those losses started coming. Now there's 4 of those losses, and he's getting banged up even more. So now the focus is on the offensive line's injuries, his own injury. Christian Kirk is out because for the season with his injury. I mean, then just I don't think they're going to win the AFC South when it was the odds on favorite to do so.
So you live in Jacksonville. How are fans feeling about Trevor Lawrence this year? Because we've talked about it almost every week. He didn't have a good week. He may have had 2 good games this year.
Yep.
But with Etienne and Ridley and those guys, we expected him to put up numbers. Maybe not like Tua with Tyreek and Waddle, but we expected him, a few 300-yard games, a few 3 touchdown games.
Maybe 4.
But
yeah.
Right? It just hasn't happened.
No, I think people here in the beginning of the season, before the season started, Doug Peterson was talking about the makeup of possibly having a record-breaking offense pretty much. And with Doug Peterson's pedigree as an offensive mind, you would think that's a possibility with this young quarterback who was a year ahead of schedule, because last year in his second year, he's doing what most quarterbacks are supposed to do in their third year. You thought this would just be a phenomenal third year for him. He's regressed tremendously. But the fans are always going to love him for right now. They're still, and Jacksonville fans, by the way, even when you're not doing well, they're still going to like you. They're still going to like their players. They're not like a lot of fair weather fans. They'll stick by their team. I remember with Byron Leftwich, he just couldn't stay healthy for anything, and they still stuck by him. But when David Garrard came in and just gave them just something, they liked him. And then I remember, no BS. I went to the locker room one time when Byron Leftwich was there, and everybody was talking to David Garrard. Byron was on his crutches in his locker. Yo, bro, why isn't anybody over here? Bro, you're not even playing, man. But that lets you know the egos of these players.
Yeah.
He was like, yo, why are you over there, man? I'm still here. And it came across as a joke, but there was some truth to that. He really was feeling a certain kind of way, even while injured. It's a tribute to the competitive nature. But people here like the Jaguars. They love the Jaguars. And with Trevor Lawrence,
there's no shade being thrown his way.
You're going to have pockets of people doing that, because that's what people do. You know what I mean? If you want to look at a percentage, I would say like about 15% of shade thrown, if probably those people out there. But as it stands right now, probably because they're still in contention, someone's still thinking, even with all these injuries, he might be able to do something and get them into it, or they can just I don't know, be satisfied knowing that if we don't do it this year, we're definitely doing it next year because he had his bad spot already. So he only can go up, you would like to believe.
Yeah, I'm just thinking as a Jags fan, I would be disappointed coming off of last year.
Yeah.
You mentioned the talk before the season, Doug Peterson, we're going to have a high-powered offense, and then the season starts, and what's wrong with Trevor Lawrence? Why is he not performing at that next level?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe Jags fans got to step up their game a little bit. Don't accept mediocrity.
Oh, no. You know what? You know what? I don't know, because in the beginning, when I came down here in 2000, these people were spoiled because their team, they were one of those teams that came into the league and almost had immediate success. They went to the playoffs just a year or two after they came into the league. And then before you know it, the year I came down here, they just missed going through the Super Bowl because they lost to the same team 3 times that year, which ended up being the Tennessee Titans, who did go to the Super Bowl and lost to the Rams, where Kevin Dice is almost trying to get a touchdown move. So they've been spoiled by that. And then they've also been around for all of the problems the Jaguars have had when they were losing and they could not fill the stadium and the blackout rule was in effect. And there was just the local grocery store here was buying up tickets just to get people into the stadium. They still couldn't fill it. A lot of issues that quick. But now those young Jaguar fans who are 5, 6, 7 years old, now are 25 and 30 years old, and they now are season ticket holders and making their own kids Jaguar fans. I think that's why it's a stronger base now than it was before. And they don't like to tolerate the nonsense that's happened, especially with the Gators not playing that well either, because, look, the NFL is the NFL, but this is Jacksonville, and the Gators still rule the roost in Jacksonville. That's just a fact. But and the Gators not playing well, Jaguars not playing well, and Lawrence is supposed to have been the savior. I'm sure that 15%, if it's out there, they're really throwing that shade. I'm just thinking he's going to just get past this year, get to the next year. But during the games we saw this year, the wide open passes he was missing.
I just have to go back to our MVP talk from yesterday. I gave my top 3.
Yeah.
Lamar Jackson, Christian McCaffrey, and what's the third one?
Oh, Tua.
Yeah, Tua Tagovailoa. Anyway, but you said you still have Dak up there. He's on a 2-game losing streak, bro.
No, I still have Dak
when it matters most. Come on, man.
I still have Dak in the argument because of what Lamar Jackson had done on the road against San Francisco.
But if they don't have a 2-game losing streak, they got the East sold up pretty much.
And that's true. But when you look at the games, because I think people who do the voting, they look at the games and it has to be within reason. You can't have a team that's 1-5, but the quarterback's playing well most of the time, and you're going to put him in the mix. No, I think right now, with the way Dak has been playing, the team is on a losing streak, but this last loss was not on him. You're not going to go out there and expect your quarterback to always get 3 or 4 touchdowns. He got the touchdowns he needed. He made the throws he needed to make, especially that big-time throw that kept the drive alive before they got the touchdown. He caught the L, but it wasn't on him. He just happened to be the quarterback of the losing team. He did his job. Part of playing football is having defense. They did not they did not do their job. I look at your L saying lose.
Two L's.
Two L's. But this most recent L on the road wasn't on him. I think he's still in the mix. He doesn't necessarily have to be the number 1 guy, because I think Lamar Jackson, not even by default, but because of deed, he deserves to be number 1. Tua is still in the argument because he did what he did on Sunday. He got his team in position to win. But Dak Prescott, anytime you lead the league in touchdowns, as I mentioned yesterday, he's still in single digits with interceptions, only 7, 30 touchdowns, 7 interceptions.
If the Cowboys were the number 1 seed, I'd be with you. I'd be right there with you.
But they're 10-5 still.
They're not going to be the number 1 seed, and they had a chance to take control of the East, and they're on a 2-game losing streak.
Yeah, and they still have a chance to take control of the East right now as it stands. And I think they're going to go back home, and if he continues to play the way he's been playing, if he played the way he played on Sunday, they win. I mean, the defense has to do their job. Now, I'm not saying he's the number 1 guy, but he's arguably could be the number 1 guy as well. Tua could be the number 1 guy as well. But Lamar Jackson, based on playing the better competition and doing what he did on the road, he has to be in the mix. When you look at his passing, which has gotten a lot better, people want to still criticize, but his running is already there. But he's leading the team in rushing, 5.5 yards a carry, touchdowns as well. And, Lamar Jackson is there, but anytime you have a 10-5 team this late in the season, and the last loss wasn't on you, you just were the quarterback of the losing team, you have to be in the mix. Because as I mentioned yesterday, if Mahomes was doing the same thing with the same numbers, he would be the leader in the clubhouse right now.
I don't know if I agree with that.
At 10-5, if Mahomes at this point was 10-5 with the numbers that Dak has, 30 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, no one would even question whether he's the leader in the clubhouse as a quarterback of the MVP of the league.
I don't know if I agree with that.
It's Dak. So people don't like Dak, or people don't like the Cowboys, and Dak just happens to be the QB of the Cowboys. So whatever, even more vitriol.
I mean, because you're bringing up a hypothetical situation. I mean, we know Mahomes is the best quarterback in the league.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We know it, but you're only as good as your season that you're in, because we've seen players that were good one year and not good the next. We've seen Timmy Smith in the Super Bowl was excellent in the Super Bowl. The next season was a flop. We've seen players like that. Now, Mahomes isn't going to be one of those kinds of players, but Dak Prescott, if nothing else at all, he's been consistent, been consistently good or consistently decent, sometimes good. Now, this season, I think he pushed himself to elite relative to all the other guys around him. Justin Herbert isn't around for this. You know what I mean? Look at some of the other quarterbacks in the league. They aren't around for this.
But after opening night, I know it was the Giants, right?
Mm-hmm. Giants are horrible.
And people were like, Dallas, this is the year, Dallas. But for their losses, the Dolphins, not a terrible loss, but they got beat down by the 49ers. They got beat down by the Eagles the first time.
Yeah.
They lost to Arizona.
Bro, that's unforgivable there. But you know what? With the season being longer, you're probably going to lose a game.
What I'm saying is, though, after that first game, expectations were up here.
Yeah.
And they have not met those expectations.
So, you know what? At 10-5, they're right there with the expectations. I'm thinking, look at what's happening.
I don't think so, because they look like the best team in the universe, and they're not.
Who?
And,
I know their fans may think that.
Team.
I don't think so. I think they're on par with what they've been doing in the course of a season, 17 games, and we're at 15 right now. I mean, look at what happened with San Francisco just earlier this season. 3 losses in a row. Brock Purdy all of a sudden is the guy that, he looks like Mr. Irrelevant. I told you he was overrated. That's what the story was once they started losing. But now, outside of that 4 interception game he just threw on Sunday, he's back to being Brock Purdy, who possibly may win the MVP. He won't win it now, but he's still in the talk. He just fell down the charts.
That's true.
But in any event,
we talked about it yesterday. One of his interceptions is on him. The other 3,
the other ones, yeah.
One, his arm got hit. The other 2 were tipped. What are you gonna do?
But it happens in football. It shows up on the stat sheet, and for people who just look at stats.
But I think what we have to be careful with is if they meet up in the Super Bowl again, I don't think they're going to throw 5 interceptions again.
Oh, no, they're
not.
Think
it's going to be 30-12 at one point. I don't think that it's a foregone conclusion the Ravens would beat them.
Oh, no, I would never say that for a Super Bowl if you had 2 teams meeting during that season and then they have to meet again during the playoffs or in the Super Bowl if it happens that way. I never see that, first of all, because it's hard to win against the same team in the NFL twice anyways, especially when you're talking about top-tier teams. Secondly, in the NFL, for the Super Bowl, you both have 2 weeks to prepare. So that game planning, whatever went wrong that first time you all played, you're going to make your corrections. It's probably going to be harder for the team that had won to continue doing what they're doing or trying to find your faults and expecting what you had done the previous game, because that's not what's going to happen in the next game. They're making their corrections. So it's the onus is on them to figure out what's going to be new. But I would never guarantee if these 2 teams met again. And you know what? I had San Francisco winning. I had them winning on Sunday, lost that one. But when everything is on the line, if those 2 meet again, depends on what happened, because anything can happen. Somebody get banged up. Somebody might, whatever might happen. But
a lot of football to be played before the Super Bowl. But
a lot of exactly. So much.
I still think they're the top 2 teams.
I don't think there's any question. I don't think there's any question about being the unequivocal top 2 teams. Dallas has these things going on the defensive side with their in the NFC, and they can make things interesting. And Dak having the season he's having, probably could make things interesting. But we've known players when the lights are on in the playoffs, things don't go right anymore. Lamar Jackson used to be that kind of guy. I think he's gotten over it. I think he's now at that point to where he's gotten over that part. But he has to get to that part for us to know for sure.
He still has to prove it also.
Exactly. He has to prove it. All of this regular season nonsense, well, not nonsense, but all this regular season play and accolades means nothing in the playoffs. It's a whole new season in the playoffs, and dudes play with a different vigor.
So what's up with these Florida State players opting out of the bowl game? There's like 20, 25 of them, I think.
Yeah. You know what? They're either just doing it because they're going to go to the portal and prepare for the NFL, or this is just a slap in the face to the ACC, letting them know how they feel. Having this, I'm surprised they stayed this long, but for them to do it at this point, let you know this was something that was
sideways boycott type thing.
Probably so. This reminds me of what happened to Deion Sanders when he had his guys with Colorado in the spring game. They waited for the spring game and then they all bailed out. You know what I mean? This was something that was planned. This is one of those get back at you moments. And I think Florida State had done that. It's not personal against Mike Norvell. He's done great for them, and they've been great for him. It's to the NCAA, or it's just to the ACC for what had happened to them. And now Florida State's trying to get out of the ACC. A lot going on with that team.
Keon Coleman announced he declared for the NFL draft.
And no doubt about it, he'll be a top 15 pick, wide receiver wise, top 15. He's definitely a first rounder. He's made some hell of a plays. That's one of the players who came from Michigan State. And this guy comes to Florida State, took over, showed that he's a top pick in the draft. And now no one's Marvin Harrison, no one's neighbors, but he's going to be in that mix as wide receivers going in the first round.
So the report I saw showed him as the number 2 wide receiver prospect. I'm not sure. I would not take him over Neighbors.
Nope. I'll go to the combine because this is the combine is where a lot of this nonsense goes on. I've said it for years where you could play and do what the job description asks for when you're in college. But when the combine comes, all of a sudden some obscure player or some player that was on the fringe of even someone knowing them, they start bubbling up. And then all of a sudden everyone jumps towards that guy. And I'm like, I've seen it too often. I remember I use it as an example all the time. When Bryant McKinnie playing for the Miami Hurricanes, never gave up a sack in his life. That includes high school. That includes junior college. That includes Miami, including playing on a national championship team and a national championship runner-up. Well, he goes to the draft. It seems like obviously that's what you want out of your right tackle. Don't give up sacks and just be a dominant force. They take Leonard Davis in front of him. Leonard Davis went in front of him. I think he went to Arizona. And it just bugged me. I was at that draft and spoke with Bryant McKinnie in the media room with the rest of the media after he was taken by Minnesota. He was like, because I was like, yo, brother. I was like, why are you playing pretty much? He was like, thank you. He was like, yeah, my video didn't matter. I got a whole bunch of film that shows I fit their job description. And they're taking a guy that just got hot, in their opinion, in a short period of time. But Leonard wasn't a bad player at Texas, but he wasn't Bryant McKinnie. And then he ends up changing the guard anyway, all that nonsense.
Yeah, but it was the Arizona Cardinals, so that makes sense.
Yeah, and you know what? I remember years ago, I don't know if you remember Eric Swan, that defensive tackle they had gotten, who never played college ball. They took him from semi-pro, and he was actually a pretty damn good player. He just had some severe knee injuries. He played for like a semi-pro team in Massachusetts. That was my first NFL draft, 1992. And this guy came, he was taken out of that semi-pro team, came to the Cardinals. And yeah, that was at the Marriott Marquis up on Broadway. It was something else. But yeah, he was a dominant player for the times he was healthy. But the Arizona Cardinals, always that kind of guy. Russell Maryland, by the way, first pick over on the draft because Rocket Ishmael went to Canada. Jared Bunch from Michigan went to the Giants, who were the defending Super Bowl champs that year, the previous season. But yeah, man, I just hate that these players do everything you're asking for, and they're dominant, and then this happens. A player goes in front of you that probably just got hot during the combine or just made discussion.
Right. I don't know. A lot of GMs, I don't know how they got their jobs.
Bro,
that's why they no longer have their jobs. And people, dogging Mike Tomlin, whoever's saying he should be fired, they should just keep their mouth shut. Tomlin is a hell of a coach.
Bottom line.
I take him any day of the week. You go ahead, Pittsburgh. Please let him go. Come to Chicago,
Man,
brother.
you know what? Chicago would be a spot for him, man. He'll get instant respect because of who he is. First of all, the Duke can coach. And I think Terry Bradshaw said he was a glorified cheerleader, some nonsense like that years ago. A glorified cheerleader. Terry, if all's going to be told, are you really a Hall of Fame quarterback, or you just happen to be the quarterback on those Hall of Fame teams in which they half the defense, if not more, is in the Hall of Fame? Get out of here with that. Come on now.
I don't know why he'd be throwing shade at Tomlin.
I'm serious. I'm like, yo, come on, Terry Bradshaw. Come on. You know, I've always liked Terry, man, but when he kind of slide that out there, I'm like, nah, that's not the right move to make, Terry. I mean, I still question whether you should be in the Hall of Fame. You just happen to be there because of all the guys around you. And they were on defense. Yeah, you had Franco Harris, they had Lynn Swan and John Stallworth. And you got it there. You was heave-ho and you weren't reading defenses. Come on now. Mike Webster in front of you. But yeah, that's what it is right now. We have college football. The bowl games still don't matter now. And what did you say? Outside of the CFP, the games don't matter now anyway? You're right now because no one gives a damn about the games.
Right. You got people opting out left and right. Why watch any other bowl games?
22 games were played so far. 22 games. Right now, the Deuce Mayo game is being played. North Carolina is playing in that game. And you know what? Unless North Carolina's attendance is high, so far with 22 games played, the highest attendance has been the Celebration Bowl, an HBCU game, which had over 41,000 in Atlanta. 22 games have been played, 20 more to go. And
fans of those programs don't even care about the games.
and that's true. And I'm seeing that FAMU played Howard, and they put 41,000 plus in those seats. And that's the highest attendance we have for a bowl game so far this year. Now, these so-called, the real bowl games are starting up. You know, they may go past that 41,000, but right now with 22 games played, 20 more to go because there's 42 in total, you would expect a little bit more interest. These fans have the interest just as much as these players who are bailing out from their teams. And now with North Carolina playing, this game is in North Carolina anyway, in Charlotte. So I'm only assuming because it's the home team, even though Drake May is not playing, it should put some butts in the seats and they should pass that 41,000 mark.
I don't know. Why isn't Drake May playing? He opted out.
Preparing for the NFL. Yep. This is what we have now. This is what we have.
That's the thing. If they don't care, why should I care? Well, I'm not going to watch that game. I haven't watched any college football. Not one second of bowl games.
College fans are a little bit different. I think they're more passionate than NFL fans. So the reason why is because Drake May is not going to play. So whoever his backup is, he's going to probably play. And you'll get a chance to peek into the future and see what you may have for next season. I guess that's just how it goes. Sam Howell, he was there right before Drake May. We've seen how he's turned out. His first NFL pass, a freaking touchdown. He's had a solid second year. He's getting sat down right now. No bench right now for the rest of the season. But, you know, and Drake May now should be a first rounder. You know, talent-wise, I think he is. And you only have to be 1 to 32 in terms of going in the first round. You don't got to be the best. It's got to be 1 to 32 for the first round if there's 32 teams picking. So it's just the numbers just kind of boggled my mind when I looked at the attendance for these teams that are much more prominent than these HBCUs, but the HBCUs are leading the way right now with their attendance. That's going to fall. Miami playing in the Pinstripe Bowl on Thursday against Rutgers, and they have players who've opted out. I mean, you already know Tyler Van Dyke's not playing. And Emory Williams, we know we're injured. He was injured in the game we went to. So now you have Ja'Cory Brown. You don't know if he's going to be in or out. If he plays, he plays. If he plays well, does he even go into the transfer portal himself? So much crap. Kobe Young out. Transfer portal. Our wide receiver. A lot of mess.
I don't know, man. How do you fix it? I don't see how you fix it. As long as you have the playoffs, all other bowl games are meaningless.
And luckily they're expanding the playoffs, so at least more teams will feel like they're having a hope, and it may even conjure up a little bit more, if not a lot more interest for fans of college football if their team isn't in it. You know, just to see the format, just to see how it would go. Because I know the problems that the FCS have when they have their playoff, where the lesser teams, no one comes to the games, but as the games go on, you finally start seeing the crowds come, and then typically the same teams that are there anyway, whether it was James Madison when they were there or North Dakota State when they were there. Well, they're still there. But just the fast start showed up later. And the fact that was the reason why the HBCU teams had not gone to the FCS playoffs is because they get paid more being in the Celebration Bowl. So there's that.
Follow the money.
Follow the money, and that's what they've been doing.
Let's talk some basketball.
How about to say that, boy? Come on now.
How about those Pistons?
Pistons, bro. The Pistons, we know the Pistons aren't good this year, and they're not going to get much better. But they get wins every now and then. They get wins.
They haven't had one in a couple months.
Yeah. What this is the third win? I mean, you said the third win they had. I mean, no, actually, it lost yesterday against.
Yeah, they got a 27 game losing streak.
Yeah, they got 27.
And then they have 2 games with the Celtics, so you can just add a couple more to that.
Yeah, that's it. I thought this was one of those teams on the ascent, and apparently not.
Cade Cunningham.
Cunningham's coming out saying crap about the team.
I mean, he dropped 40 their last game. Wasn't enough. I think it was last night they lost to the Nets. At least it was competitive though, but still 26 L's in a row. Oof.
I'll tell you what though, who's not playing any games but is playing big time game, Ja freaking Morant, 4 in a row now.
Yeah.
He took on the same Pelicans that he started his debut off this season after the 25 game suspension. Comes back, he beats them. He's part of the team that beat him with that game winner. Comes back this time, drops 31 on them after dropping 34 in the beginning. Nothing's missing from him other than that one thing, his shooting. Dude is 16% from 3. Bro, stop. Just drive. You got the skills. Do it.
Yeah,
16%, bro.
I never saw him as a great 3-point shooter, but now he's atrocious.
Atrocious, yes.
Did you see his celebration?
No, I had not seen his celebration.
Oh, man, he threw the guns.
See, you could have kept
that. He threw the guns. I was like, I don't know if he didn't get a phone call from Adam Silver. I mean, but he's not the first one to throw guns on the court.
You know what?
Joakim Noah used to do it all the time. He hit a 12-footer, he'd go down court.
He probably wasn't even thinking about it. That's the problem, though. I know he has to keep it on his mind because of what had happened, but I don't think if that did happen, he wasn't thinking about, I shouldn't do this, man. He just did it because whatever shot he made was probably a good shot. But, man, you talk about bad timing and losing your head.
At least it wasn't.
You can do. Get a shovel, dig him.
At least it wasn't the first game back. He waited a week and a half or so.
But hopefully someone took him to the side and be like, yo, bro, you can't do it. This is what you
chill with the Pistols.
Yeah, right. Chill with the Pistols. Demand a trade to the Pistons. Yeah, right. Get out of here with that. That's that franchise down there. And hey, you know what? I said they were not a John Moran away from a playoff. Bro, there's so many games left, and the way he's lifted
we'll see how long they can keep it up. But right now, they're playing really, really well.
They're playing really well. They have their number one cog, and he's putting it up there. And Desmond Bain still playing hard because he was playing when Ja was out. Derrick Rose is injured, hamstring, but it wasn't like he was contributing a whole lot.
There was a Marcus Smart sighting. He's
yeah? Where was he standing next to Bigfoot?
No, he was on the court. He threw John alley-oop.
Oh my God, man! I haven't heard his name almost all season. I mean, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
But we have to address the Lakers. What's wrong with the Lakers?
What is wrong, other than getting their butts kicked at home against the Celtics, and they're the defending in-season tournament champs? What's going on here?
Everyone's talking about they have to make a move. They have to make a move. Man, they made like 9 moves last year. And then they added Cam Reddish and they added this guy. They made moves. How many moves does the GOAT need?
Man, look.
I mean, if he was, I know he's about to be 39, but why is he not making those guys better? You know, those are not guys without talent. Hachimura and Vanderbilt.
Hachimura, yeah.
And those guys and Reddish. Reddish was a badass in college.
Reddish has a lot of talent, man. He's been a talent. He's been a lot of places, but hadn't done anything.
That's what I'm saying.
What the heck the problem is?
Why isn't LeBron making him better?
You know what? It beats the hell out of me, man. I don't know. I see him. I'm like Mario Chalmers. But yeah, but I'm saying, but Cam Reddish, man, I was expecting more from him. How is LeBron going to make this guy better if he hasn't been better anywhere? That's why he's been bouncing around.
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
wondering
They say the
what
great
more can
ones make
LeBron
their
do for him.
teammates better. That's what they say about every great player.
And that's true. And you get to see it firsthand when these great players make their teammates around them better. I'm just thinking maybe if he's not that player,
Could it be Darvin Ham's offense?
you know what?
Maybe the
Everybody
offense
else seems to
favor him?
thrive. I
Huh?
mean, when they're scoring, everyone else seems to thrive in it so far.
Oh, I'm not just talking about Reddish specifically. I'm talking about because they'll get big games out of Davis. They'll get big games out of LeBron. Austin Reeves will step up here and there once in a while.
Yeah.
D'Lo will hit some shots, but there's nobody contributing consistently. Nobody else.
And that's why they have the record they have. I mean, I really thought this would be a year where they finally put things together and are a bit formidable, and they aren't. It's like they get this in-season tournament, and now they're just back to being the Lakers they were last year. You know, they may have to do in-season tournament mode.
Yeah, but they had improved after all the moves, after the trade deadline, because I think at the trade deadline, they were barely in the playoff mix. And they got all the way up to what, like the 6th seed?
Yeah. And they kind of cooled off. But now, I don't know.
Well,
I don't know what
they ran into Joker. What are you going to do?
Oh, well, yeah. Jokic is there. And you know what? I don't know what the hell I've been. But Jamal Murray's back. When did he get back?
He's been back a couple of weeks, I believe.
Really? Bro, probably because I'm seeing.
Maybe at least a week. Maybe not.
I'm seeing some of these L's they had on their record. I'm like, bro, how they losing like this, man? And I see that he's back. I was like, but they still losing with him? But yeah, man. But hey, OKC still got to give those guys the best young team in the NBA.
That's the other thing. You got all these teams on the come up in the West. OKC, Minnesota, even the Pelicans. And now the Grizzlies are making a move. Yep. Young athletic teams with a lot of energy, man.
Man, they're gonna run them Lakers out of there with Austin Reeves not knowing how to play defense because of his slow feet. Those young kids are gonna run him out of the gym.
To me, the two worst defenders I see on a regular basis are Vucevic and Austin Reeves.
But at least Vucevic is a double machine, or used to be. He had a purpose.
Man, he's a turnstile on pick and rolls, bro.
That dude's a big, strong dude. I tell you that for sure, man. I saw him down in Orlando during the media day. That dude's like
has no lateral quickness whatsoever. He's like walking in mud with bricks attached to his shoes.
Yeah, like Frankenstein, those little high heels. Frankenstein used to wear those little shoes. But how about SGA? SGA from Oklahoma City. Dude's averaging over 30 points a game. He's a Canadian. I didn't even know he was from Canada. Bro, these Canadians putting players out there, man.
I mean, who else is Canadian?
Is it Wiggins Canadian?
You're right, Andrew Wiggins.
Yeah, Andrew Wiggins is Canadian. They put out a couple of Canadians over the past couple of years. Things that because I've always said that outside of the U.S., the best basketball playing country, I believe, still is Australia. But man, you see these Canadians kind of leaking into the league and showing up and doing the thing. Hey, you might have to add them, man. It's not just hockey and lacrosse anymore. Hey, big thing in the NBA.
Boy. Yeah, Wiggins is probably too tall to play hockey.
Yeah, right. I think any of those guys too tall to be playing hockey. You look at some of these hockey players, 198 pounds, 200 pounds, about 6'1", 6'2". No big guys, if anything. And that coordination that you're going to need. But yeah, man. So what? The NBA going on now, completely official. The NBA is in session. Now, college basketball, do we even get on top of that yet? Because, they're now getting into conference play. I mean, they're pretty much in there now, but January is pretty much
starting up pretty soon.
Chicago State playing good. Well, for their standards, playing well. They have 7 wins already. Whereas in the past, it took about 3 seasons to get 7 wins. 3 seasons. This team was terrible. These boys are playing a little basketball now, the Panthers.
They're taking the Pistons wins.
They probably are, man, because they have more than the Pistons before it was Chicago State having the 2 wins. And that was for the season. But now, 7 wins, still under 500. I'm not going to say exciting to watch, but yeah, just to see their record and see that they're where they are, I'm like, bro, I mean, they're not going to be any threat when the tournament come around, but seeing them as bad as they've been in the past. And hopefully, if I go back to the record book and look at Mississippi Valley State, I hope they've done something with that basketball program. I remember when they lost by over 80. Bruh, come on now. Stop the fight. Throw the towel.
Yeah, they should put the forfeit rule in effect, and not the
Exactly.
forfeit, the slaughter rule.
Yeah, and what we didn't get a chance to talk about baseball. Yamamoto going to the Dodgers, bro. They're Yamamoto, bro.
The Dodgers have become the Yankees.
Loaded team, bro. Damn. But you know what though? What really helped is when Ohtani had deferred that money.
The money, yeah.
Deferred the freaking, bro. What a genius move. And who's surprised that he went to the Dodgers? A lot of those Japanese players culturally, you know what? They respect one another. So when Ohtani, they was like, he's recruiting him, they thought it would just be window dressing. Hey, he listened, and we see what happened. And now he's on that.
Deferring Ohtani's money also freed up a lot of money so they could sign him.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the point too. Because
and
now
Ohtani probably told him that, man, I'm deferring money. You better come sign here.
Yeah, but Ohtani's making like $50 million a year through endorsements in Japan and even over here and over there in the West Coast, I'm sure. You know, he just got money coming in. It's just one of those cultural things where money isn't the end-all, be-all, at least for him. You know, I'm not saying it's completely like that over here, but we have an extreme capitalist society over here where the dollar is going to speak, and if it's not speaking, it's going to learn sign language. So, but yeah, right now, and they're all right-handed pitchers.
There are more moves to make. You know, we got the hot stove.
Yeah.
Winter meetings coming up and blah, blah, blah. But I don't know how anybody beats the Dodgers if they get in the playoffs. I mean,
all right-handed pitching right now. All right-handed pitching right now. And Clayton Kershaw not coming back. You know, he had the arm injury. He's a free agent now anyways. I don't even know who's going to pick him up with the last, I think it's a shoulder injury.
But who's to say the Dodgers are done?
No, I don't think they are done. I think they can run with what they have right now. But shoot, man, I hate the fact that they can add more if they wanted. You know what I mean? But you know what? And the Yankees did offer more money, but they didn't give as many years. I guess that's security, 12 years as opposed to 10 years. You know, and the Mets, you know, Will Bond was like, okay, whatever. Will Bond. he's like, okay, man, the Mets been stopped. Let's move on. But this is the same guy who said that we're going to kind of clean the books for right now. We'll go back into contention in 2025. But then you try to jump on this cat. Come on, man. Stick to your guns. But that'll be it for us. We have Thursday coming up, and that'll be tomorrow. And by the way, for those of you who have gotten this far, we'll be doing the show twice a week starting, well, I guess next Tuesday, because that would be 2024. And then we'll be doing it on Mondays and Thursdays. And less will be more, because there will be segments that we've probably had spoken about throughout the entire show, in which we could make a sub show from that. How about that? A few clips, and there'll be compelling clips. And in addition to that, we'll probably make a few things on the weekends, probably some not documentary type things, but profile players and instances, put those together, and they will fill those blanks of Tuesday and Wednesday. So he's biased. I'm Trav. Sports Bag Bros are now out. Deuces.
Adios.